Hey, welcome to Life Groups. If you've never been in a life group before, if this is your first experience, this video will be especially helpful for you and your group. So first of all, what is the goal of a life group? Well, a life group is a small group that meets together to learn from the Bible and connect with each other. Usually they meet once a week. And the goal really comes from the Bible itself. These two things we see in Jesus' own words. When the Pharisees asked him in Matthew 22, they said, "What is the greatest commandment in the law?" And Jesus responded in verse 37, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." Now look at that last part right there. He says, all your mind. If you want to love God and if you want to know God, it's really important for you to learn from His Bible, learn from His Word. And that's the first goal of this life group. It's not just a social club. It's not just a chance to get together and connect, although that's important. But first and foremost, we want to learn from God's Word and be shaped by His truth. But then he goes on and he says in verse 39, he says, and the second command is like it. He says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And that's really the second part of the life group is we do want to connect with one another. It's important to connect not just with God and His truth, but also to do it in a group, to do it with one another. And so the goal is to learn together from God's Word and to connect with one another. Now, I've got some recommendations for your group, especially if you're new at this. Sometimes it can be a little bit awkward or a little bit difficult. So here's some recommendations. Number one, start with the learning part. This is probably the easiest part of it. Learn from God's Word. We've got all kinds of videos at the Red Notes library for you. Pick a video series out for 4 to 6 weeks. Learn together. Let the videos help teach and launch you into some conversations as well at the same time. There's stuff in there from biblical truth to everyday life, and there's a column in there just called Featured. I know you might not be able to read that right now, but go to the website. If you haven't already done this, pick out a series that you can do together and start with learning. And those videos will really help you with that. And then secondly, just let the connecting happen over time. The connecting part of it is the part that sometimes intimidates people, getting together socially and having to connect with each other. Don't force it. Don't rush it. It'll happen over time as you learn with one another. Now, I will recommend that you make a basic commitment to praying for each other. Now, I don't mean that at the end of today's meeting, you all take turns praying for one another. That could get awkward. I just simply mean maybe take prayer requests at the end of your time together and then make a commitment to pray for one another during the week for those prayer requests. It will really help you to serve one another and begin to connect with each other even when you're not meeting together for this hour. Now, the last thing is I'd encourage you to take it one series at a time and consider inviting others. Maybe not now, but maybe later. If you do a 4-week series, maybe in another 4 weeks, consider inviting others. I'm sure that you know some people that would benefit from a group like this, from a life group, and so consider doing that. Don't be a dead end as a small group. Don't just huddle together and never think about other people outside of your group. Consider inviting others as the time arises. Now, for right now, why don't you hit pause, and we'll do this in all these videos at the Red Notes library. We'll give you an opportunity to hit pause and talk a little bit about this stuff in red, and then we'll see you in the next video.